Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to Week in Nintendo. Every Saturday I like to go back through the past week's biggest headlines so you can get all caught up on all things Nintendo. If you're new here and you like these weekly news rundowns, as well as the occasional game or accessory review, make sure to like and subscribe. And with all that out of the way, let's go through this week's Nintendo news. Sunday, we learned from Bloomberg that Nintendo would be stepping back from mobile gaming following the success of Animal Crossing New Horizons. According to the article, Nintendo has been underwhelmed by their return for their mobile efforts and is, quote, not necessarily looking to continue releasing many new applications for the mobile market. And while Nintendo shares fell by 4% immediately following the announcement, this change in sentiment may not be a total surprise to some, as Nintendo's foray into the mobile arena in the first place could have been seen as a reactionary move to appease investors during the failed Wii U's lifecycle. Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa went further by saying the company believes its franchises shine brightest when paired with a Nintendo-developed controller, and the company was never quite comfortable with the touchscreen-only interface. So let me know your thoughts about Nintendo moving away from mobile. I can't say I'm all that disappointed, as very few of Nintendo's mobile efforts held my attention for very long. Monday, we got the reveal trailer for the latest fighter to come to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's giant roster, Minh from ARMS, who may have been a bit of a surprise to some since she's not necessarily considered a flagship character for the series the way Springman is, but apparently the producer of ARMS specifically asked Sakurai to use Minh as the featured ARMS character, and I'm glad they did. Minh is definitely one of the more unique and memorable ARMS fighters with her ramen noodle arms, and she looks like she'll have an incredible reach in Smash. Some were suspecting the new fighter to be Twintelle, which would have been another cool choice, but since Twintelle uses her hair to fight rather than her arms, I can understand why she may not have been chosen as the only ARMS character in the roster. Now, I've fallen off quite a bit from my time with ARMS from around the launch of the Switch. It was a genuinely fun and interesting new IP from Nintendo, but I just never felt really compelled to return to it. So while this was a fun announcement and I'm looking forward to trying out Minh in some matches, it wasn't the most exciting bit of news for me. If I'm being honest, one of the most exciting things in this whole trailer was the beautifully animated scenes featuring Captain Falcon enthusiastically slurping down his bowl of ramen. He's such a unique character in Nintendo's roster of iconic IP, and it made me kind of bummed that it's been so long since we've seen a proper F-Zero title. I'm sure this is mostly based on past sales figures for the series, but I have a hard time believing that if a quality modern entry in the series came to Switch, it would have a hard time selling. Nintendo would at least have my money. Tuesday, we learned that Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 would be coming soon to PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, the follow-up to the 8-bit Castlevania-like adventure Curse of the Moon, which released ahead of the more ambitious Ritual of the Night as part of the game's Kickstarter stretch goals. And while no official release date was given, hopefully we don't have to wait too long to get our hands on the upcoming ode to classic Castlevania. Again on Tuesday, we heard from Japanese outlet Career Connection that Nintendo has almost fully recovered from its ongoing supply issues, with production of new Switch consoles being back at almost 100% capacity. As for how fast the company will be able to get these new consoles back on store shelves and meet consumer demand remains to be seen, but this news should have scalpers sitting on piles of Switches that they're trying to unload for $500 a pop running scared. Tuesday, we also learned that Tetris 99's 14th Maximus Cup will be a Xenoblade Chronicles themed one, letting players battle it out for top spot in the tournament and the ability to permanently unlock the Xenoblade theme. Tetris 99's 14th Maximus Cup will take place from Friday, July 3rd until Monday, July 6th. Wednesday, during the second Pokemon Present stream this month, fans watched in anticipation, hoping for the announcement of a Pokemon mainline remake or a new entry in the Let's Go series, only to be surprised by the announcement of Pokemon Unite, a Pokemon MOBA developed by Tencent, and a video that now has the honor of being the most disliked in Nintendo history. And I'm not sure whose fault it is for setting expectations so high here, the Pokemon Company or the fans. It's probably a little bit of both, but I do think it's important to remember that we just got the announcement for new Pokemon Snap, a game that doesn't have to exist. It was a total surprise and really unexpected, at least for me. So yeah, this could have been a more exciting announcement, but we still have plenty to look forward to in the Pokemon universe. Wednesday, we also got the launch trailer for Ninjalah, a free-to-play multiplayer action game from developer Gung Ho Online that looks strikingly similar to Splatoon, like one or two notches away from IP infringement. And from what I can tell, reactions seem to be somewhat mixed, with many reportedly enjoying it, while others seem to be confused and overwhelmed by the game's extensive and poorly explained mechanics. I'll definitely be trying it out this weekend to get a feel for it myself, but let me know in the comments below if you've given it a go, and if so, how are you liking it? Thursday, we learned that Virtuous, the studio responsible for the Switch port of The Outer Worlds, is currently investigating ways to improve the performance of the Switch version of the game. And while still impressive that the game runs on the Switch at all, review outlets seem to find that the sacrifices that were made to get the game running on Nintendo's hybrid console may not have been worth it, as the port suffers from slow loading and low-res textures, inconsistent frame rate, and severely reduced level of detail. So it's encouraging to see Virtuous committed to improving the performance of the recent port, and while no release date was hinted at for an upcoming patch, hopefully it's something we can look forward to in the near future. And on a related note, a really awesome channel, Modern Vintage Gamer, recently put together a video about some of the possible improvements that could be made to this Switch version of The Outer Worlds by running the game on an overclocked Switch. So if you'd like to check it out, I'll leave a link down in the description. Thursday, we got a reveal trailer for Animal Crossing New Horizons Summer Update Wave 1, which will feature swimming and diving, new creatures to collect that can be donated to Blathers at the museum, and visits from Pascal, who you can trade scallops with for limited DIY recipes, as well as Gulliver now appearing to wash up on shore in a pirate's uniform. What exactly is different about this slightly altered encounter remains to be seen. Wave 1 of Animal Crossing New Horizons Summer Update will kick off on July 3rd, and we'll also be getting a Wave 2 of the Summer Update, which will kick off sometime in early August. In more Animal Crossing news, on Friday we found out that we'd be getting our first Bug Off tournament, which will be happening today if you're watching this on Saturday, and the tournament appears to be similar to CJ's fishing tourneys, except this one will be hosted by Flick and will obviously feature bugs instead of fish. So if you're wondering why KK Slider showed up to your island a day early this week, it was apparently to make room for the upcoming tournament. And our last bit of news for the week is a quick PSA coming from GameXplain about a workaround that allows you to view 3DS or Wii U games from the Switch eShop simply by adding them to your Nintendo account wishlist. And in a time with all sorts of rumors swirling around about upcoming Nintendo remakes and remasters, a ton of misleading videos and screenshots popped up on Twitter. So while I'm still hopeful that games like Super Mario 3D World will be coming to the Switch, be wary of this misleading information, as the only thing it proves is Nintendo fans' thirst for these rumored Mario remasters. And that does it for this week's Nintendo news, but before we go, it's time for 20 years ago today, where we take a look back at what was happening with Nintendo 20 years ago this week. And this week we're talking about a game that came to the Nintendo 64 on June 26, 2000, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Kirby 64 brought the once exclusively 2D platformer into 2.5D, with characters and environments featuring full 3D polygons, with gameplay still sticking primarily to a 2D plane. Kirby's entry on the 64 introduced characters and mechanics that you'll probably still recognize in modern Kirby titles, and saw mostly favorable reviews, with the game currently sitting at a 77 on Metacritic. Nintendo Life ran an updated review when the game became available on the Wii U eShop in 2015, scoring the game with an 8 out of 10 and saying, "In Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, developer HAL Laboratory managed to keep the core structure of what many know and love from the Kirby series, while glossing it up with a shiny new 64-bit coat of paint for the new console generation. While the likes of Mario and Zelda have gone on to feature in numerous fully 3D adventures, Kirby's foray into the world of extra dimensions stands out as one of the more unique entries in the series, still feeling somewhat fresh in comparison to the multiple 2D Kirby platformers. Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards isn't without its drawbacks, but is still impressively pleasurable to this day." And if you stuck around through all that and like what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next week, have a great weekend, play some video games, get ready to jump in and take a swim, and I'll see you next time.